Right. Now, when it comes to the operating systems, it's better we get ready to write some notes at home, people. It will increase our productivity, right? Since we have to cover up 3 more lessons. The other 2 are the practical ones, which are little, the 7th, 8th lesson is something very simple, but 9th, we have to work on that. That is the database lesson, and you will be getting a question from that as well, right? So yeah, in operating system, we need to talk about what is the necessity of a particular system, of a particular operating system, and what is an operating system, and what kind of functionalities that an operating system can have, right? Those kind of things that we are going to learn. So I think with or without the knowledge, all of you have what we call familiar with the operating system, right? So it is because when we are like dealing with a particular device, we always dealing with an operating system, right? So if you start a computer, operating system is the software which is loading very first onto your device. If you on a particular mobile device, it is the operating system that you are getting onto your device, right? So in simple terms, we all know about the Windows, right? So Windows is the operating system that most of the computers are using, right? And as well as like there are many different operating systems like that, right? If you think about an operating system which is given by the Apple Corporation, it is called the Macintosh, the Mac OS, right? If you think about the mobile phones, there are 2 major softwares, which is the Android operating system and the iOS, which is given by the Macintosh again, right? So likewise, there are many different kinds of operating system around the world, which is dealing with us for the moment, right? So now when it comes to the operating system, I told you it is the one which is being loaded into your computer the very first time. Whether someone's mic has on, please mute that. Yeah. Right. So when it comes to the operating system, I told you it is the one which is loaded into your computer at the very first time when you are starting any device, right? So here it is described what's happened when the operating system of a computer is being loaded, or like what is the way that is being populated, right? So I'm going to discuss this, right? So first, let's write this onto your notebook, right? So have the heading called operating systems, right? The main heading, operating system. So we are starting a new unit, the 5th one, right? And then
this is big, small, 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 and small.
Yes. Right. So after the heading, and I'm sorry for the background music, people.
Look at that big one.
Shh, Suhara, Tat is doing a class. Please don't disturb. Yeah. And let's write about these things, people.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. You may copy this plus you have to write these particular steps, right? So please copy it quickly. Then I'll walk you through the things, what's going on there, right? So start it from here, right? So copy it and give me a minute, people. I will be right back. And I'm like putting my little one into home, right? So you will copy this thing and I'll be right back. Okay, are we done?
Still doing, sir.
Okay, okay. Keep copying. Okay, one is done. How about others? Is there anyone still copying it down? Okay. Okay, Udamya, you can finish. Let me know when you're done. Okay, so for the people who have done with this, please copy these two lines as well. Then we have to see some nice video regarding this. Okay, are we done? Okay, anyone still writing this? Okay, keep writing, keep writing. Okay, Udamya is done. Is there anyone still writing? Oh, Tesandu, Apple devices වලට එන්නේ ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ company එකෙන් ඒ කියන්නේ Apple processor එකක් එන්නේ. Intel ඊළඟට AMD වගේ ඒවා නෙවෙයි Apple processor එක. ඒක Apple company එකෙන්ම Apple devices වෙනුවෙන් හදලා තියෙන එකක්. Right. Okay, can we move forward, people? Ravindu, are you done? Ravindu, there is no any devices made up with Linux operating system. Since Linux is available, like it's free and open source, anyone can have it. Like most of the PCs which are providing to the which are selling without an operating system has the basic Linux operating system or some kind of free and open source operating system with it. And if someone asks you to, if we ask the providers to provide with a Linux operating system, they can install it. But usually, if you take the companies like HP, Dell, Lenovo kind of things, they always tend to provide their devices with the operating system. Right? Okay. Right. So can we move forward? Everyone is done, right? Is there anyone still writing? Okay, so let's. Oh, come on. Ravindu, hurry up. Right. Okay, so we can move. Let's go and see how this thing works. I found this nice animation of the booting process. Right, let me search it for you. Oh yes, this is the one. Let me share the things with the sound people. Now just check this. This give you a better idea about how things are working.
Guys, can you keep it down? Daddy's on a work call. Yes, Larry. I'll have that for you by the end of the week. Maybe.
Have that file. Understand the boot process because it provides several key pieces of forensic information and allows you, as a forensic examiner, to control the boot process to use forensic booting tools. Let's take a look at what happens when you boot a computer. When you turn on your computer, the power supply sends power to the motherboard, which in turn activates the boot process. The Power on Self-Test post instructions are stored in a ROM, a read-only memory chip, as part of the BIOS, or the Basic Input-Output System. The post runs through a series of tests to make sure everything is working. Most post sequences will have a combination of audible and visual messages to let you know what is and isn't working. These are the beeps that you generally hear when your computer is booting up. The post checks your video card. At that point, you will see information from the post on the screen. The post then checks to make sure it can find a CPU and that it's communicating. Then it tests your RAM. This is a very basic check of whether it can communicate with your RAM. Now it checks for keyboard and mouse. Depending upon the type of keyboard you have, you might see the keyboard's lights flash. At this point, you would normally see an indication on the screen of how you can enter the BIOS setup program on your computer. Each BIOS software vendor will have a different keystroke, but it is often either F2, F10, or the delete key. This vendor's key is F2, and we will enter BIOS setup. This is where important forensic information is stored, including date and time information and the booting order. Your computer can be set to boot from your hard drive first, or from your CD, or a USB drive, or even from the network. If you want to boot the computer with a forensic boot CD or forensic USB device, you may need to change the boot order. Lights on each drive will flash as the post checks them for booting instructions. Most computers are set up to check the optical drive first. This makes it easier to install new operating systems. Then they check the very first hard drive, drive 0. Post is looking for the master boot record. The master boot record is always at cylinder 0, head 0, and sector 1. It points to the boot sector. Finally, post is done, and the operating system takes over.
Okay, now the important part is the circuit. Like, you could remember what they were saying over here. Like, once you provide the power supply, it checks things, right? Yeah, I'll tell you what the BIOS is, Putta, right? So once the power is given, so then the basic input-output system got the POST, a program called POST, Power on Self-Test, right? It will check the CMOS memory for the things that it needs to be checked before the operating system get loaded onto the computer. So it checks the VGA card as it shows, checks the memory. Like, these are some basic things that they are doing, right? Not the thorough checking, right? So basically, there's it checks whether everything is like fixed together, and this particular computer is ready to boot up, right? As well as it will check for the input-output devices as well, right? Like, basically whether a mouse or a keyboard is being connected. Like, it specifically search whether a keyboard is being set up, right? Keyboard again at it is given a beep sound and it is given an error message. Primary input device is not connected, so we can't boot, right? So when those things are done, then it accesses the hard disk to find something called MBR, Master Boot Record. So Master Boot Record is the first record in your hard disk where it resides, where the operating system is, what is the place of the operating system, or like in which case, in which place the operating system is being connected or like been installed, right? So using the MBR, it allows the operating system to come into the main memory. Like any other program, any particular program should be loaded into the memory to execute or to seen by us on the screen. So once the operating system loaded into the main memory, then we are going to see, okay, operating system is loading, right? So nowadays, like they were talking about this check-in kind of things over here, right? You can see this screen, it is like giving you some information, right, time to time. Like this particular check-in, we could see that in the older computers, but not today. Like the computers that we are using, we won't be able to see this. It will just pop up and go. Sometimes you don't see that thing. But if you got old computers in your school lab, when you are opening the when you are on the particular system, you will be able to see it, right? Okay, Osit me, I'll go by the things that is said in the book doer, right? So you will get a clear picture again, right? So it's like this, as your book says, first, when the user power up the computer, the CPU, central processing unit, activate the BIOS, right? So BIOS was the chip that they were showing you over here, right? So it is on the motherboard, right? So in this BIOS, like with the help of the BIOS, basic input output system, we call it as the BIOS. It's a small chip on your motherboard, and it has these details which is like embedded into it by the manufacturer, saying these are the things to be searched before the computer get boots or before the computer is having its operating system on the screen, right? So it is a ROM type of a memory, read-only memory, right? And in the BIOS, there has another particular ROM called CMOS, right? So with the CMOS, it will check whether all the things that is necessary to function and a computer system properly, right? So then after, when everything is okay, but what are these everything? They check whether the RAM card is fixed clearly, whether the VGA is fixed clearly, right? Whether the computer is connected with the keyboard and a mouse, specifically with the keyboard, right? So if those things are okay, then it finds the master boot record in the hard disk. Now, if your computer got different number of hard disks, some computers has 2, some has 3, some has many, right? So anyway, it's going to find the master boot record from the specific hard disk where we consider it as the C drive, right? So then once it finds the master boot record, that master boot record has bootstrap loader, which helps the operating system to be loaded onto the random access memory, right? Then from the hard disk, operating system will be installed, or like not installing, is loaded into the random access memory. Then only we will be able to see the operating system is being on our screen, right? It happens within seconds now, right? But early in my school days, it took like minute or two. We are just pressing the power button, and we can see some instructions going on the screen and checking some things. And then after, we will see the operating system Windows is coming to our screen. But nowadays, it's not going to be like that. Right now, when it comes to my laptop, I just press my power button, then and there, I will be able to see my operating system without any delay. Sometimes it shows that dots are going round and round for a second, like 3 to 5 seconds. Then I can see the screen. So I won't see that booting instructions now onwards. So Most of the modern computers are not showing the booting instructions now. They are just covering it from the user and giving him a like blue color screen or some color kind of a screen until it is being loaded, right? The operating system is being loaded, right? Is that clear, people, how the operating system is being loaded? Okay, right. All right. Okay, so now when it comes to the software classification, operating system resides under the system software. We have talked about this in the second lesson as well, under the software classification. So it has a system software and application software, two types of softwares. So under the system software, we got three types of things, which we call operating systems, utility softwares, and language translators. Now, operating system means the operating system that we are referring to. It is the major software. We call it the platform, right? Like now, if you think about my computer that I'm showing things to you, my platform is Windows, right? So if I open a Windows Explorer, right, pressing Windows key and E, once I visit to this PC icon, I can see the partition of my computer. I got two partitions, right? And usually Windows operating system is tend to install into a drive called C, or like whatever the drive that installs the Windows is named as C drive, right? C drive එක තමයි Windows සාමාන්‍යයෙන් install ලා තියෙන්නේ. And again, you can see some window icon over the hard disk that indicates this is the partition or the portion of your hard disk which contains the Windows. Now, once you double click and open this, there is a folder called Windows. When you are like going and searching for your Windows folder in your computer, do it very carefully. If something goes wrong, your entire operating system is not going to work, right? So inside this Windows folder, all the files and folders that is needed to the operating system is installed, right? So this is, now we are like looking at the Windows folder in my computer, right? So when the computer is being booted or like starting for the like from the power off situation to the power on situation, it goes through this folder and find the MBR, right? Then load it to the main memory. Then only we will be able to see the operating system on the screen, right? So likewise, utility softwares are the softwares that is helping the operating system and to the user as well to use their application softwares in a very smooth manner, right? So one of the utility software is the virus guard in our computer. So we are not using the virus guard for our day-to-day purposes mostly, right? If we unless we need to scan a particular device, we are just letting the virus guard to do their thing, right? So virus guard is always being alert on the operating system and the computer system, whether any malware or malfunctioning software is trying to enter into our system. So we are not involving, we are not saying the antivirus software or the virus guard to get open and to get open like Word and to be operated in our operating system. When the operating system is being booted, your antivirus software is up and running. Now, my operating system I'm using is the Windows Security or like the Windows Defender. So it is up and running without my knowledge. So it is doing its work. That is what the utility software is. And there are some other utility softwares like Task Manager, right? So you can take the Task Manager by right-clicking on the taskbar and go to the Task Manager. So Task Manager will show us what are the processes that is running on the computer for the moment, right? If I take fewer details, you can see what are the programs that I have open via this computer. So I got Adobe Acrobat Reader, that is the software or the application program that I use to show this note to you, and Google Chrome, my browser, right? And HP Pen Control is running. It is for my touch pencil, right? And this Zoom meeting, I have two instances. One is for the main window, and the other one is for this particular meeting, right? So main window is a one process, and this meeting is another process, right? So likewise, this task manager is a utility software which shows us what are the programs or what are the processes going on, right? If we are going for more details, it will show us all the processes going inside the computer for the moment. We are going to talk about these things when we are talking the process management by the operating system. As well as there are more options here, like if you go to performance, you can see how my CPU is being utilized through this particular operating system, right? So it is actually not 100% used. It's like almost like 90 to 20% is being used. And you can see how much of my memory is being used for the moment, how much of my disk is being using. Now, using means like accessing here, right? Capacity, like how much of, like what is the frequency, right? So like what part of the hard disk is being used for the moment. And my internet connection, the way it works, and my graphical processing unit, the graphic card. And I got a separate graphic card as well. So it is not working for the moment, right? My onboard GPU, graphical processing unit, is working, right? So those kind of things. Now, these are not needed for the user to do their day-to-day things, right? Sometimes this will be monitored by the technicians. Sometimes we may need to visit here and see what's going on actually in the computer, but it's very rarely we do those things, right? But they are running these kind of programs. So one particular aspect is to help some processors regarding the operating system. And the other thing is like to provide the information for the people like technicians, right? And these language translators, they are actually kind of a system software. We use these things, assembler, compiler, and interpreter, to translate the human readable language into the machine readable language, right? Now it is like when we are learning the programming, it is the first lesson of the grade 11. So in the programming, we are like coding a particular code using the programming language that we are going to learn, which is the Pascal, right? So once we are typing it using the English words, the words that we can understand, but we are creating the program to be run inside the computer. So computer cannot understand the English words. They can understand ones and zeros. From the number system lesson and from the gates lesson, we know the computer can understand only ones and zeros. So these translators are there to translate these English words, what we have written in the program, into the ones and zeros. So then computer can understand, okay, what are the instructions that is given by the programmer to be executed inside the CPU, right? So that is what you call language translators. So three types of system softwares: operating system, utility software, and the language translators. Okay. Is it clear, people, about the categorization of the softwares? Right. Okay. So I want you to keep space to draw this diagram. So leave the spaces, right? Leave sufficient space to draw this particular diagram. And yeah, it is briefly describing about the system software, utility software, and language translators. So once you leave the spaces to draw this, let's copy the important part, right, from this note. So from the system software, put the heading system software, right? Then you can put number 1 or simple A, it doesn't matter. Operating systems. Yeah. Copy this part only. Let me know when you are done, people. Okay, one is done. How about others? All right, moving forward. Yeah, and I need you to draw this particular diagram as well. You don't need to draw this man and the computer, but draw this diagram. This shows you what are the application softwares and the system softwares and the hardware. So this diagram explains that system softwares are the softwares which interacts with the application software as well as the hardware, right? So it is working as an intermediary. මෙයාට පුළුවන් මේගොල්ලොත් එක්කත් communicate කරන්න, hardware එකත් communicate කරන්න, right? As well as system software will directly interact with the user as well, right? So especially when it comes to the operating system, it is a very nice guy or like a nice program to interact with everything. It interacts with the hardware and manage it. It interacts with the application software and let them run on the computer. Without the operating system, you won't be able to run any application softwares, right? Like if you don't have Windows on your computer, you won't be able to install any games or any kind of media players or any kind of word processing softwares and all these things. You won't be able to. If you don't have Android on your phone or iOS on your phone or any other operating system on your phone, you won't be able to download the apps from the Play Store or the iStore or whatever the place, right? So operating system is the one which allowing you to handle the things or handle the application softwares in your computer, right? That is why when the viruses are trying to attack the computer, they tend to attack to the operating system. So it is like the base of a particular house, right? They know if the base is broken, walls cannot stay along, right? So that is why viruses are always trying to attack the operating system or the core system of your computer, right? So I want you to draw this, and please keep the space. So now today you got 2 diagrams, right? So then after it is talking about the utility software, right? So put simple B or number 2, then we can write about the utility software. So let's have it like this. Yeah, you can copy it up to this point. Then after, for the examples, you have to write these 2. Yeah, Pehara, we are going to talk about that assemblers, compilers, and interpreters in the programming lesson 2. It is the first lesson in the grade 11. So they have different types of translation methods. Every one of those are translating the source code, or like the code that is written, which can be understood by us, into the ones and zeros, but they are doing it in the different manners. Assembler do it in a one way, compiler do it in another way, and interpreters are doing it in a different way, right? We are going to learn about it, right? So for the moment, just remember the language translators are there to translate the source codes or the programming codes, which is written by our own language, like English or Sinhala or Chinese or something, human readable language, into the machine readable language, which is ones and zeros. Okay, so let me know when you are done, people. All right, one is done. How about others? Okay, is there anyone still doing this? Right, so moving forward, people, about the language translators. Right, so about the language translators, let's write it down. Yeah. Yeah, let's go with like this. Have the language translators. Then, yeah, it's better we get the entire thing, people. It is just a summary, right? So have it entirely. We can't omit anything. Right, one is done. How about others? Yeah, two has done. Anyone still writing this? Okay. Yeah, Tesandu, we are having video editing lessons in grade 11. Not that advanced things. We are only talking about some basic stuff, but we are going to do video editing using the Windows Movie Maker. Okay, are we done, Udamya? Right, okay, so let's move forward. Yeah, they are talking about the application softwares as well. I think you can remember what are those application softwares. Are the softwares that we use to carry out our day-to-day activities, right? So far what we have learned, word processing softwares, spreadsheet, and we are about to learn the presentation softwares, database management systems, computer games, web browsers, media players, all these kind of things. Like what are the softwares that we are using to make our day-to-day life easier are all being considered as the application softwares, right? So the basic thing that you need to understand is to run the application softwares, operating system is a must. Without the operating system, you won't be able to run any application softwares, right? So let's quickly go through that, right? So like put application software, the heading, then yeah, copy this down. It's a small 2 sentences. Then we are going to talk about the importance of the operating system. So quickly copy this down, people. Okay, 2 are done. How about others? Can we move forward, people? Okay. So we are moving forward. Right now, here it is talking about the importance of the operating system. Now, I have explained this, some of these from this diagram as well, and I'm from this one as well. I will, but anyway, I'm going to say it again, and this particular diagram shows us the things in a much clearer manner, right? Look at how it shows us the thing, the facts, right? So this has everything in one picture. Human users are there, so like users are there at the top. So we as the users, we interact with applications as well as operating systems. So like when the computer is booting up, operating system is the one that is booting for the very first time. So we give a username, or we just click in on the sign in button, or just enter into the operating system. Anyway, the first thing is that a user is going to interact with is the operating system. Then, of course, we are not staying with operating system for a long time. We are just going for the application softwares that we need, right? So if you take a mobile phone, you just unlock the mobile phone. Unlocking means you are interacting with the operating system. Then you touch on the specific application that you want. So you then and there, you are going to interact with the application software. So as the users, we interact with those two things. Then application software is also interacting with the operating system. Without interacting with the operating system, it won't be able to run on the operating system, right? Because the operating system is the one who is providing the facilities for that application software to run. What are the facilities? Operating system will allow that application to load into the memory. He is the one who is helping, because application software is installed to your storage device. If it is a computer, your application software is installed in your hard disk. And if it is a mobile phone, again, the specific storage. So to run this particular application software, it should be loaded into the memory. So application software by itself has no capability to load into the memory. Operating system should help the application software to load that particular application to the memory. Later, you will learn when an application software is asked to execute, when it is starting its execution, it creates some components called processors, right? This is not processor, process I'm talking about. Kriyavaliya, processor කියලා කියන්නේ CPU එකට. Process. So one particular program may create only one process or many processes, right? So then that process is the one which is loading onto the memory. So to create the process, to load the process into the memory, it is the operating system that is helping, right? And other system softwares, what are the other system softwares we talk about? The language translators are there. Utility softwares are there. Each and every these other softwares is also applications. Applications means like also programs. And like the application softwares, if any program is in execution, it creates process. That means utility software is also tend to create process, and the what you call the language translators are there to create process. Now, I showed you the task manager, and I show you some application software related process and the utility software related processes. Now, if you think about this Google Chrome, this particular process, it is a application software related process, right? And you can see different kinds of other tasks is here as well. Now, when we go to the fewer details, these are the application that is run by the user. That means me. Run programs. But look at how many process or how many programs are there in my computer. It's been running for the moment. Huge number of things, right? So like from there, you can see, I'm just searching for the here. This is the Windows Defender, Microsoft Malware Protection Copy Accelerator Utility, right? So it is my antivirus software. So it is running the background, right? It is not a process or an application software, but a utility software, right? So likewise, there are many different kinds of utility softwares in the system. So other than these 5 programs, all other things can be categorized as the utility softwares and other system processings inside the computer, which is carried out, which is managed by the operating system. So now you can see it helps the application software to run in your system as well as the other system softwares to run inside the system. So you can see now operating system is kind of a very major role inside your computer. So without operating system, none of these things will be able to interact, right? Then මේ box එක ඔයගොල්ලෝ අරගත්තොත් මේ box එකත් එක්ක මෙතන තියෙන හැම component එකක්ම related. Application software is related, users are related, other system softwares are related, hardware are related, right? So that is why we are saying operating system is the most important software in your computer, right? So that is the importance of this operating system, right? So later we got some other operating system to get introduced. So before that, you know most of those. Let's quickly write this down. So have the heading importance of operating systems, right? And yeah, I want you to copy this. Plus, you are getting a third diagram to draw at home, right? So you have 3 diagrams to draw. So please copy this, then keep the space. Let me know when you are done, people. And Tisandara, are you here in the room, Dua? Ah, yes. Dua, I couldn't have your marks last week, Dua. And Rashid or Rashida. He's not here, neither. Yeah. Tisandara, can you send me the marks to the paper that we have done, Dua? Right, okay, Dua. Like, though you have to omit the 4 question of the operating system, which is you have to say how many out of 36 then are. Yeah, and Rasandi, is she here? Rasandi. Ah, yeah, Rasandi, how about you, Dua? I think I couldn't. Yeah, it is Rasandi's. Yes. Rasandi, how about your marks out of 36? Tisandara, like how much it is out of 36, Dua? Rasandi. Rasandi, can you hear me, Dua? Right. And meanwhile, if you're done with the this particular explanation, you have to draw this particular diagram in your book, right? So let's end the session for today, right? So then we can discuss these subject matters by next week. So even though this seems to be a big lesson, there is nothing much to talked about because we know a lot of things, right? So we can like run through it as quickly as possible, right? So maybe within the next week and by the week after, we will be able to finish this lesson, right? So we can move to the other practical lessons, other 2 practical lessons, which is PowerPoint and the database, right? Okay, so people, I'm going to end the session from here just for today. And thank you very much for everyone for staying and have a nice weekend. I'll meet you on next week for the very same time. And if Rasandi can hear me, Rasandi, please send me your marks for the last paper, Dua. Right. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much. Tesandu, yes, I think I have took yours. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I'll update it. Okay, Rasandi, it's better you send me, right? Okay, thank you very much, everyone then.
Sir.
Okay.
සර් මම සර් ඉස්සෙල්ලා ආන්සර් මේ මම ඉස්සෙල්ලා 40කින් අරවටත් එක්ක ලකුණු එකතු කළා. දැන් ඒක තමයි හරියට. 26යි කියන එක නේ පුතේ? 26න් 26යි නේ? ඔව් සර්.
හරි පුතේ හරි right okay.
Okay, thank you sir.
හරි පුතේ හරි.